How much should I be saving and investing? How much money should I have by this age? How much do I need for a comfortable retirement? What all of these questions are really leading to is the big question. Am I actually ready to retire? And here's the truth. Money alone isn't the only thing you need to be thinking about. If you're ready to stop guessing and start planning for a retirement that actually fits your life and your vision, I'd love to invite you to join me for a free wealth activation breakthrough call. In this call, we'll align your financial goals with a life you truly want and map out your next steps toward real financial freedom. This call is absolutely free, so click the link in the description below and schedule your call today. In this video, I'm walking you through the 11 essential questions you must answer to truly know if you are ready to retire, not just on paper, but in real life. So let's jump right in. The first pillar of a solid retirement plan is simple, but it's very powerful, and that is to know your numbers. If you don't know your retirement strategy number, how will you ever know if you're ready? So the first big question you've got to ask yourself, do I actually know my retirement number? Your retirement number is the real amount of money you'll need every month to live your version of a life that's going to make you happy. Not just a comfortable life, but a life based on everything you've ever wanted. Now listen, your retirement number isn't a random number that you pull out of a hat. Too many people, they have absolutely no clue when they're asked how much money they need for retirement. They'll throw out something like 1.6 million, or they'll say something like, well, I have 500,000 in my retirement accounts, so I should be good. Where'd they get that number from? Why do they think that'll be enough? They don't know, probably because they pulled it off the internet. Some website told them what they need. Look, your retirement number is what you personally need to live your life after you quit working, and this number is different for everyone. If your monthly lifestyle in retirement will cost $4,000, then your retirement number needs to support that. If it's $6,500 because of healthcare, travel, or grandkids, then that's what you need to plan for. This number sets the stage for everything else that follows. So let's move on to question 2. What income sources will you have? Where's that money going to come from? And I'm not talking about actual income from a job, unless that's something that you want to do. I'm talking about things like, will you have Social Security? And do you know how much to expect? Do you have a pension from a past job? What about a 401k or IRA withdrawals? Will you have any kind of passive income? Maybe you have rental properties, business revenue, or investments that generate monthly cash flow. Once you know how much you'll need each month, the next step is understanding where that money will come from. Because here's the truth, retirement isn't just about having a lump sum saved. It's about creating reliable income from what you've built. You do not need a dozen different streams, but what you do need to know is what's guaranteed, what's flexible, and what's at risk of running out. Too many times the assumption is that savings, the 401k, the investments, they'll be enough. And when reality kicks in, what they have to live on month to month simply isn't enough. And then they're down at the local convenience store or Walmart or wherever working a part-time job just to supplement what they have. And look, some people take those part-time jobs because they actually want to. They enjoy customer service. They enjoy being around people. They enjoy the work. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you're forced to take a job like that, it really sucks because you absolutely hate it. And you had other plans for your retirement years. And that's when it becomes a problem. So let's move on to question 3. What is your withdrawal strategy? This is one of the most overlooked parts of retirement planning. You can have your savings, your investments, your 401k, and whatever else all planned out. but have no plan for how you'll use that money, how you'll move it each month from where it is to where you need it to be so you can pay for the life that you're living. And without a plan, you could end up losing more to things like taxes, timing, market swings, and other things that you've never expected. And this is where your withdrawal strategy comes in. You've probably heard of things like the 4% rule, and that's one way. There's also the bucket strategy, where you divide your money into short-term, medium-term, and long-term needs. Or you might plan your withdrawals around required minimum distributions, market performance, or even tax efficiency. Look, the right strategy for you personally depends on your lifestyle, your accounts, and your risk tolerance. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here, but there is a strategy that is right for you personally. So you want to create a plan that feels sustainable, flexible, and aligned with your actual life, not just a spreadsheet. When your income plan and your withdrawal strategy line up with how you want to live your life in retirement, that's when things start to begin feeling possible. Now let's shift into the second pillar, which is to build and grow your wealth. And the fourth question is, are you consistently investing? And I'm not talking about just saving, I mean investing. Saving is where you start, but saving alone won't get you to retirement. If your money is just sitting in a savings account, it's going to be losing value to inflation every year. Real retirement wealth grows and it works for you. And that means investing. And this does not have to be complicated. Whether it's index funds, ETFs, target date, or real estate, what matters most is that you're consistently buying assets that grow over time. You want to have small, steady investments because those will build more wealth for your retirement than large windfalls. Don't worry about timing the market because all you need to do is set up auto investing so that it comes from every paycheck and then just let it grow over the long term. And speaking of letting it grow over the long term, that brings us straight into the fifth question. Do you have a catch-up plan if you're starting late? Because let's be real, not everyone starts in their 20s. Life happens, kids, careers, caregiving, just unexpected detours. But here's the good news. It's not too late. Whether you're, say, 35, 55, or even older, it's really not too late. What matters most is that you take action now with the time and the resources that you have. Catching up is going to look different based on your circumstances. You might be maxing out your catch-up contributions if you're over 50, or you could be creating momentum in your 30s and 40s by investing consistently and increasing your investments every single year. Maybe you're going to take on a new income stream so that you have more money to invest. Maybe you'll downsize or simplify your lifestyle to redirect money towards retirement, or it could be just simply tightening up your budget for a little while to free up a few hundred extra dollars a month. It's not about guilt because a lot of us did not save early for retirement. It's about strategy. And it's not about cutting out all the fun stuff out of your life either. It's just about being intentional with your choices so you can build the future that you actually want. Listen, a late start does not mean that your retirement is a lost cause. It means your plans need to just be a little bolder and a lot more intentional. Now, let's look at one of the most underrated strategies that too many people miss. Question 6. Are you relying on just one type of retirement account? And this one's big because putting all your retirement savings into one tax basket is a recipe for disaster. For example, if all your retirement money is in a traditional 401k or IRA, you could be hit with a surprise tax bill when it's time to withdraw. That's why tax diversification matters just as much as investment diversification. Here's something to ask yourself. Do I have a mix of Roth and traditional accounts? Have I considered a brokerage account for more flexible access? Do I know how to use tools like an HSA for medical costs in retirement? Having a mix of account types gives you options, not just for tax planning, but for lifestyle planning. It means that you can adjust your withdrawals based on what's happening with taxes, the market, or even just what you need that year. The goal here isn't to have every account type out there. It's to create flexibility so you're not boxed in when you finally stop working. Now, let's shift into pillar 3, which is controlling your spending and protecting your future. Starting with question 7. Is your current lifestyle derailing your retirement lifestyle? And this one is sneaky because it happens to almost everyone. As your income grows, your expenses quietly grow with it. Little upgrades that don't seem to matter at the moment but absolutely affect your long-term goals. And that's called lifestyle inflation. And it's one of the biggest threats to long-term wealth, especially when you're trying to build towards retirement. And I am not saying you need to cut your lattes or that you shouldn't pick up ice cream when you're grocery shopping. Those little expenses can absolutely derail your progress over a long amount of time, but they're just small in compared to the bigger things, because what I'm talking about are like the bigger upgrades, like upgrading to a new car every few years when the old one still runs fine. And this is a mistake I see so many people make. They're afraid of repair bills or breakdowns, and I get it. Nobody wants to be stranded or hit with a big unexpected expense. But here's what actually happens. The car starts making this weird grinding noise, or it's a squealing noise. So they take it to the shop and bam, they're facing a huge repair bill because now multiple things need to be replaced. But the truth is, if they'd had a real conversation with their mechanic early on, they would have learned that things like brakes, belts, coolant are all part of normal maintenance. And if those things had been handled as part of a maintenance plan, and yes, a maintenance plan is absolutely essential for your vehicle, well, those giant repairs probably wouldn't have happened at all, or at the very least, they wouldn't have snowballed into a multi-part breakdown. So instead of paying for a $500 brake job that you planned for when it's due, they just skip it and end up replacing brakes and rotors and a damaged caliper. And now it's $2,500, and that's when they decide the car isn't reliable anymore and they trade it for a newer one. And now maybe you've got a car payment with your old car, it was already paid off. Or maybe the payment's just higher than before. But insurance might go up too, because with a newer car or a more expensive vehicle, it's going to cost more to insure it. So you see how all of this just snowballs into more expense. It's not the $3 latte that's derailing your retirement. It's the big expensive lifestyle upgrades that quite quickly cost you money in ways that you didn't even expect. Now, let's talk about the question that people rarely connect to retirement. Are you taking care of your health right now so you're not paying more later? And this might not sound like a retirement question at all, but it absolutely is. I'm talking about things like routine checkups, moving your body. It doesn't have to be extreme exercise, but at the very least, not sitting around and being a couch potato every night after work or all day on the weekends. Managing your stress. Eating in a way that supports long-term energy and strength. One of the biggest costs in retirement is healthcare, and most people seriously underestimate it. I know that's something that I have neglected myself personally. And the problem is that Medicare doesn't cover everything, and if your health declines, your cost can go up really fast. So that's why investing in your wellness today is one of the smartest retirement moves that you can make. Health is part of your wealth, and it deserves a place in your retirement plan. Now, let's move on to our final and fourth pillar, retirement lifestyle design, and the next question that ties your entire vision together. Question 9. Do you have a clear vision for your retirement lifestyle? Most people focus on when they'll retire, but not many people think about what that retirement will actually look like. Where will you live? What will your days feel like? Will you travel, volunteer, start a business, spend your time with family? If you don't know what you want, if you don't define your vision, you probably are not going to like the results you get because you didn't plan for anything. And say, for example, instead of catching trout from a mountain stream near your cabin in the Rockies, you're microwaving sad leftovers in a random apartment that you can't stand. Instead of sipping a pina colada with your toes in the sand in Maui, you're drinking instant iced tea in a folding chair on a patch of dead grass in your front yard. You see, if you define your vision and use that as a guide, you can make sure that the numbers actually add up when you're ready to retire. This is not about dreaming or wishful thinking. It's about action and alignment. And if you're unclear of that vision or unsure how to make the numbers and the life you want fit together, you don't have to figure it out alone. Click the link in the description to book your free wealth activation breakthrough call. In this call, I'll help you clarify your vision, align your money with what truly matters to you, and map out your next steps toward a retirement and a life that you actually want to live instead of one that you're stuck with because you didn't have a plan. Now, question number 10. Are you clear on your retirement timeline? There's a lot of pressure to retire by 65, and let's be honest, there's a lot of pressure to retire by 40 or 50 or even earlier if you're chasing the FIRE movement. But the truth is, your timeline is yours. Some people are ready to clock out right now, as soon as possible. They want to retire immediately. They don't want to wait. Others want to shift into semi-retirement, part-time work, passion projects, or purpose-driven volunteering. The key is to know what kind of retirement actually fits your values, your finances, and your stage of life. You might retire at 70 and still have the most fulfilling years of your life ahead of you. You might retire from one thing at 40, and by 45, you're ready to step into something new, something more aligned with what makes you happy and gives you more purpose than you've ever had before. The only mistake is assuming that retirement has to look a certain way or happen by a certain date. When you give yourself permission to define your own retirement timeline, you stop chasing someone else's clock and you start building a life on your terms. And that brings us to our final question, one that brings all the other pieces together. Do you have a system for tracking and revisiting your retirement plans? None of this matters, not one bit, if you think you're going to make one decision today and never think about it again. Because if that's your plan, you're in for a big surprise, and it's probably not going to be a pleasant one. For a lot of people, their retirement plan is basically pick a number, pick a date, and hope it all works out. I saw this firsthand with my dad. For years, his retirement dream was simple. Sell his house in Illinois, move back to Wisconsin, and fish 6 days a week at all of his favorite lakes. So you can imagine my surprise when one day he told me that he was putting things in motion for retirement a few years earlier than he'd planned. But instead of Wisconsin, he was planning a trip to Arkansas to look at houses and visit churches. And I was like, Arkansas? Where did that come from, Dad? It turns out his priorities had shifted. His vision of what would fulfill him in retirement had changed, so he changed the plan. His number one priority had become finding a new church, the one he'd been part of for years, no longer aligned with his values, and none of the churches back in Wisconsin felt right. Once he found his new church home in Arkansas, everything else started to fall in place. He found the house he wanted, he sold the one in Illinois, and he moved. And that old dream of fishing all day, even that shifted. My dad went from working full-time at Chrysler to working 30 plus hours a week volunteering with other members of the church to help build a brand new building. And this went on for all the years of his retirement, even up to 72, when he was still climbing ladders, installing steel roofing, building walls, and whatever needed to be done And yes, he still fished, but the life that brought him joy looked different than the one he thought he'd imagined all those years ago. That's why it's so important to have a system to check in, realign, and readjust your plan as needed. This plan can be simple as reviewing your accounts every quarter, running a retirement income projection, or just being open to allowing yourself to think about new ideas or inspiration for the life you want to live during your retirement, even if that's in Arkansas. It's not about perfection. It's about progress with awareness, because the people who actually succeed at retiring on their terms are the ones who stay connected to their plan over time. Retirement isn't about hitting a magic number. It's about building a life that actually aligns with what you want during your retirement years. The more clarity you have, the more confident you will feel to take that step when the time comes. And that's exactly what the Wealth Activation Breakthrough Call is here to help you with. If you're ready to gain clarity, shift your mindset, or get support on your next financial move, don't wait. Click the link in the description and schedule your free call today. And if you found this video helpful, there's another one that I don't want you to miss. It's called The Best Advice You'll Hear About Financial Freedom. And honestly, if you skip it, you're going to miss one of the biggest mindset shifts that ties everything we talked about together today. So go watch that video next, and I will see you there.